have exactly 24 hours to finish a 10-year work anniversary gift for my wife. She's been working in the board game industry for 10 years now, and she's been working with companies that produce games like Seven Wonders and Carcassonne, so games that have been played by millions of people, and she's working at a company that does the actual production of the games, and that's also the reason why we have tons of board games at home, and it's one of the greatest hobbies that we have, playing board games with friends. So why is there only 24 hours left to do this? Well, I have been procrastinating this project for over a week now, and tomorrow is the celebration party and I don't want to miss out. So let's get the timer started right now. The idea for the 10-year work anniversary gift is that I was thinking about something that incorporates meeples. So these are meeples. Meeples are player tokens used to play board games, and most of the time you have your color of choice as your player color, and then you have all kinds of tokens to play the game with. Now you can imagine there's probably hundreds and thousands of board games out there, so I was looking for something that incorporates board game meeples and the names of the most popular games out there. So on Board Game Geek, I found this mega meeple grid by Ryan Johnson. So I got myself a print here from my poster. Let's take a look how this looks like. Wow, this looks beautiful. And what I want to show you here is we have all the different famous games and their meeple shapes. And we can basically put this in a picture frame. This looks already pretty nice, and someone who loves board games probably likes this already. But I was thinking, can we make this a little bit fancier by using 3D printing? Quick break here. I want to let you know that since you're watching this on YouTube and you're not a patron or a channel members, which you can become if you click the join button down below, and Patreons, doesn't matter whether you choose one or the other, see every video ad-free. So if you're annoyed by ads from YouTube, you can become a channel member or a Patreon and enjoy all my videos in the future ad-free. Thanks for that, and I also want to thank every single patron for the support for the last years and also for the upcoming support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get back to the video. So I did some research and figured that there is someone on printables.com and also on Thingiverse called QIDI, and this person has already extruded 3D objects from this original picture. However, if we want to load this into our slicing program, in this case for the QIDI slicer, you see this is way too big for the printer, but actually I want to upscale this, and you will also see later I want to print every single piece individually for a specific reason. We're going to come to that point. So how are we going to split this into multiple little objects versus printing it all in one? The easiest way that I found to do this is actually loading this object into Fusion 360, and splitting this into individual parts will take you less than 2 minutes. So this is the whole object. Now the simple thing to do here is going to mesh and then modify, convert mesh into bodies, and we'll just go for faceted, right? We don't want to do any modifications, and that will convert this object into little pieces. So this is our grid of meeples, and it has split it into 135 individual objects, which is great because now we can export them one by one. I'm going to rename every single meeple. I'm gonna name this first one meeple grid row 1 piece 1, so I can identify and find them later. And we can start now exporting the first one and getting the scaling right, because I did one test print and you can see that this not quite matches the size required. So this is the meeple that I've been printing. This is the original size coming from Fusion. This is way too small, so it has to be upscaled, and we need to figure out how much. But that's not everything I want to do. I'm using a special type of filament. It's a dual color filament. So if you don't know what that is, this is an example of a dual color filament print. So depending on the face you look at, it has a different color, and that's achieved by using a filament that has two sides basically looking like toothpaste, and that generates these amazing looking prints. When we look at this printout here and we are going to place the meeples here, I want the number 10 somehow to be incorporated into this grid of meeples. I want to use this filament and print the meeples in a certain direction. So if you look at this whole grid of meeples from the side, for example from the right hand side, some of them will have a different color, and so you're gonna see the number 10. So let's take a look how big the Carcassonne meeple should be. 2375. So I'm loading the first piece into my QIDI slicer and I'm going to rescale it. We have to scale down the height a little bit to 10 because the picture frame that we're going to put this in, it's a display frame and only has 12 millimeters of space between the back wall and the glass. I've also added 2 copies of the meeple in different orientations, because when you insert the dual color filament into your printer, you don't exactly know how this is going to come out. So which side of the color is going to be which side of the print on the print bed. You have to figure that out, and that's why we're doing this. So let's send this over to the printer to have our first test prints done. So the prints are running, just a few minutes to go. Now, while the test pieces are printing, we need to glue this poster into the picture frame. We're using glue stick. I don't want to use any other glue that's more aggressive. Okay, so let's begin here. Gonna let this dry for a bit. We have 22 hours left. The test meeples are done. Let's briefly number them so we don't forget which orientation we had. Now while this is drying, I want to show you the test pieces. So this is number 1, 2, and 3, and actually we've printed them in a different orientation. So if we take number 1 and look at it from the side, what I actually wanted is an effect that we have 2 different colors if we look from the left side or from the right side. Now this is not really working this way. That's why I printed this other orientation, turned 90 degrees clockwise. Now if we turn it back to normal, we see that the red side is now on the left side and the yellow side is now on the right side. That's why it's so important to test this before you do the final pieces. And here with this other one, the yellow side is actually left and the red side is right. How is the sizing? Are we scaling correctly? I'm probably gonna size it up just a tiny bit more so we're not seeing the shadows anymore. How about the number 10 that I wanna make visible on this whole grid of meeples? So I have printed out this meeple grid on a piece of paper and now I'm gonna use a marker. I'm just gonna do some hand drawing here. So this is my number 10. This is the anniversary number. And we wanna check out which of the meeples we actually need to orient a little bit different. Probably you're going to use this here, this here, this here, this here. These are the pieces that we have to orient differently. One last test piece, just a little bit bigger. Here we got the new upscaled version of the meeple. Pretty much covers everything. I would go with this kind of sizing and now print out the first row completely, because the first row is not yet affected by this number effect. All meeples for the first row have been selected and resized. Let's print them out. Now while this is printing, I'm off for my real job for the next 9 hours, and then we're gonna continue in the evening.
9¼ hours later.
So there we have it. The first batch of 15 meeples is done. I have about 12 hours left, so this is gonna be a long evening. We're gonna print line by line by line of this meeple grid and then glue all of the pieces on. I'm so curious how this is gonna look in the end. Since I'm using model glue, or AC glue how it's called, that's drying super fast, I need to be super precise with the positioning. Not much time to correct any misalignments. So the first row of meeples is done. In the second row, we have a few pieces that we want to print just in the other way. So in the end, I want to have this number 10, as I told you, I want to have it visible by looking from the side. I'm going to continue printing all of the pieces, and then we have a look at the final result. 2 rows are still missing, but it's just too late. So I'm gonna continue tomorrow very early in the morning to finish this project. So stay with me. So the gluing part is done. Now while the last parts are drying, I'm preparing the frame so we can put everything together. I want to be super careful not to scratch the acrylic. The frame is prepared. Now the last thing I want to double check, can we actually see the number 10 from the side? That was the intended effect, so let's see. So I'm not sure if it's visible on camera, but this is number 1. And then we see the yellow side here of these pieces. And then we have over here, we have the 0 visible. I think it's not that obvious, but still a nice effect. So my wife has to find out herself what this all means. Let's finally put this together. This is the part where I hope nothing's gonna fall. And, you wanna see it? There we go. The Mega Meeple Grid framed in this beautiful display frame, ready to give it to my wife. I think this is the perfect place to put this frame, because when she comes into her office, she's gonna see it all the time, every single day. Now we just have to wait until she enters the office.